September 2019, we were in Germany and we saw this car unveiled, the Porsche Taycan, the first electric sports car from Porsche. And it's been a long time coming before we've got our keys to the car to take it for a little road trip, and we've done something very different. So we're going to take you on a road trip from Melbourne to Sydney to check out what it's like to charge, drive and enjoy the Porsche Taycan. If you want to see this and a whole lot more, this is the kind of thing we do here at EFTM. Click subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll bring you updates whenever they come. So look, the idea here was really quite simple, and having now driven over 1,000 kilometers in around 36 hours, I have a very clear idea of what this car is, what it could be, and why I love it. I'm now back in Sydney in traffic, trying to get home to see my kids and my wife, who weirdly I haven't seen for probably the longest period of time in a long time, given the travel bans we've been under. But this has been fun for so many reasons. I've learnt so much more about electric cars and where they've come to in a very short space of time. Now, I've done this before. We drove from Brisbane to Adelaide in a Tesla Model X years ago, when Tesla first completed their network to allow us to do that. And it was eye-opening. The range anxiety was mind-numbing. But I got to tell you, having arrived here in Sydney, I have no range anxiety, and I suffered none of it, apart from the first half hour of the drive, wondering what everything was. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the car. God, it's beautiful. I saw this color when they told me this was the color that I was going to be driving. The photo, like on the website, didn't do this color justice. In real life, as soon as I walked into the Porsche Centre in Melbourne, I saw it in the driveway, but that's it. And it's beautiful. And it's this Smurf blue, lighter than Smurf blue. And it just pops. It's a really nice, but still somewhat subtle color. I absolutely love it. The curves on this thing scream Porsche, but they also scream aerodynamics, and they scream different, but not too different that it's like a Prius used to be to a standard Corolla, for example. So it doesn't feel bad to be driving it because it feels like it fits into the Porsche family. Behind the wheel, likewise. There's subtle Porsche things, like the gear selector is very much from many recent Porsche. The clock in the center of the dash, very analog, very Porsche. But it's very strange too, because, and I'm not a clock person, but it's a digital clock with an analog seconds hand, and it's frankly a tiny bit annoying, but you get over it. But inside the cockpit here, just as I recall back to Berlin, it's beautiful. This is a very dark blue, not even navy. It's a tin of navy paint with black added in and mixed. It's beautiful. I really like the darkness of this blue, because it's not quite a grey or a black. They've gone with this blue interior trim. Obviously, trim selection is up to you. I'm amazed how many people I have heard from on social media and the like that are in the queue or are going to buy one of these. Now, not 10 people, but I now know 3 and potentially 4 people who are going to own this car. That's mind-blowing to me, and it tells me that Porsche have done something right, and they've come to the party at the right time, because this is not a Tesla beta. This is not made to be better than a Model S, though in many ways, and most ways, it is. This is made because there's a movement towards electric, and if you're a fan of high-priced luxury cars, luxury sports cars, then you're probably already in the Porsche ecosystem, and they've got something to sell you now. On the road, it's a beautiful drive. Now, on the twists and turns, it sticks, it's solid, it's firm. I haven't really pushed it on the twists and turns. That's for another day. On the open road, this thing is the most quiet, lovely ride. Stig was with me the whole way, and he commented multiple times how smooth and quiet this is. And we're comparing that broadly to, I guess, supercar sports cars. You know, your Ferraris and McLarens, because that's what people expect when they're going to get a, $200 and something thousand Porsche. It's this, really high-end sports car experience, but this is quite a beautiful, relaxed, refined drive. And remember, it's got a back seat, so there's room here for the family. And I'm going to put that to the test this weekend. It's a lovely drive on the open road. It is, there's a nice touch of lane guidance. There's a nice touch of nagging, telling me to drive in the center lane. There's all those nice things you'd expect from a modern high-tech car. There are 4 screens in this car. The dashboard in front of me is a gorgeous curved OLED display. There's your center infotainment system. There's your, I guess, what is the replacement for your climate control, which can act as a kind of a mouse touchpad, as well as shortcut functions to many features of the infotainment. And then there's this display in front of the passenger, which just says Taycan, until the passenger sits in it and detects there's someone there, and it gives them control of the infotainment, from the radio to the navigation. So Stig was navigating and adding stops for us on the journey. Brilliant stuff. And there's some real intricate stuff which I can't even spend the time to run you through, maybe another day. But things like this, you're listening to an FM radio station, and because of RDS, they're able to present to you an album cover, and you know what track's playing. You like the track? Hit like this track. Hit add this to my library. It adds it to your Apple Music library, because you get Apple Music for free with this car. So you pair your iPhone to your Apple Music account to this car, and you don't need your phone connected to be able to stream Apple Music in the car, because it's got a SIM card. And I know that a Tesla has Spotify, but I gotta be honest, I think pairing with Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and having a single SIM card, which is part of the cost of the car, that does all of your navigation and updates and all those other things come through, it's brilliant. Very smart. You know what? I think it's important that I tell you the number one critical thing I have about this car, and it's a very strange one, and it's hard to demonstrate because I can't film it while I'm driving, but the reversing camera. It's warped. I felt so many times like I was about to hit something and I was nowhere near it. It's just not perfect. The 360-degree camera is much better to look at when you're using the cameras as a part of your reversing with mirrors. The actual just rear view camera, not great. Very disappointing, Porsche. Now, this car has multiple driving modes. I'm in range mode now because I don't need to go more than 100 kilometers an hour. Range mode limits me to 100 kilometers an hour. It also turns off the passenger screen if they're willing. I can go up to normal, which will pull in take out a little bit of the range and give me a few options in terms of driving. But let me tell you my favorite mode, and that is Sport Plus. Now, this has a feature which you can also turn on. You can make it a convenience button, but you can turn on in the settings, and it's sound. This car has its own unique electric sound profile, which you can enable by just switching on Sport Plus mode or ticking a box in the settings. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but it's lovely. Very lovely. It's not quite Jetsons, but it's also not quite Scalextrics. And it happens at high speed, at low speed. When I pulled up to the side of the road to pick up Stig a couple of times while we were shooting, and he said it sounds good when you pull up as well. So there's that. And the last thing I'd say is, if you love your, 0 to 100 times, in Sport Plus mode, with that sound and with, the excitement of a petrol fan in the passenger seat, it's well worth slamming your foot on the brake fully, putting your foot on the accelerator fully, launch control enabled, and just releasing, because it's a joy. I'm pretty sure that was all well within the speed limit. It's very nice, launch control, and you can do it over and over and over again, because that's what Porsche have engineered. So, as a Porsche, it's beautiful. As an electric car, it's the best I've ever driven. Relax, Tesla fanboys. Please turn off. I don't want to hear from you. You're probably going to annoy me more than I need. The thing is, this has so much more in it than a Tesla does. And if you really want to fight me on this, the Tesla Model S Plaid Edition, which goes 0 to 100 in no time, is as expensive as this. But it doesn't have half the stuff that this does. And I'm not talking about, the digital dash. Yes, you have that. Yes, you've got a big screen. I'm just talking about all the little things in that infotainment system, in that smarts. And frankly, the fit and finish in here is 10 times better than you'll find in a Tesla. And I think a lot of Tesla fans argue that they like the minimalism of it and they like the refined style. Not really. They just haven't been in a Audi, a Mercedes, a BMW, or a Porsche of late to realize what they're missing out on. But again, I don't think this is a competitor at all. I think people that are buying this would never have bought a Tesla. They've heard of Tesla and they like the idea, but they want a Porsche. And so that takes me to the big problem of EVs, the big question of EVs, range anxiety. Now, in a Tesla, when you set a destination like I have, Sydney from Melbourne, it's brilliant, so smart. So there's two things that Tesla do well and better than anyone. Two things. They do trip and navigation planning very well, and they do range. You know, you can buy a Tesla with over 600 kilometers range, the Model 3 with over 500. This has over 400, maybe 440, maybe 430, maybe 420. I'm seeing threes all the time when it's charged. And you need that range for really long journeys. But I just drove 1,000 Ks between two of Australia's biggest cities, and I didn't suffer range anxiety. Here's what happened. We left Melbourne with a full charge. We stopped at Euroa, at the Charge Fox there, ultra rapid charging up to 350 kilowatts or whatever it is. Super fast charging that this thing can absolutely handle and more. And we did not sit and wait for 40 minutes while the car recharged. We got out of the car, plugged it in, tapped the little dongle that you get with the car because as a Porsche owner you get free charging, and we went in and got some morning tea, or lunch I think it might have been by then. And we had a quick bite. We were back at the car in about 10 or 15 minutes. When we got back, heaps more juice. Maybe it had gone from, I don't know, can't remember. Maybe it had gone from 50 to 80, but it did it quick. And we then drove on. We went to Wodonga and we didn't even charge. We went to bed and then we went in the morning to the Wodonga charger. I had some work to do. We charged it for about 35, 40 minutes and it was at 90 something percent. Great. Then we drove to Gundagai and we stopped for stretch the legs, get a coffee. So one of the things I actually think I've learnt most on this little trip is that you don't need to plan full charges. So we've pulled up here at Gundagai. Now, the car has enough charge easily to get to Goulburn, but we are just going to top up here for 10 or 15 minutes because I need a break. As much as the car needs electricity, I need a break. So you've got to stop, revive, survive, and I think that's the critical thing here is that I am charging here myself as much as I'm charging the car. And because this is ultra rapid at 350, it's huge, it's fast. In 10 minutes, we're probably going to fill this thing up more than we need even to get past Goulburn. We might even get to Sydney on one little fill up here. So stopping there at Gundagai for a top up was a smart move because we needed a stop. I needed a break, I needed a drink. We gave the car some juice. And in the end, when we got back in the car, amazingly, it showed on the map, because it shows you this blue line of how far you could go. It showed us essentially we could get into Sydney. And in fact, going to Stig's place where I had to drop him home, we were only going to get there with like -2%. So it meant that we didn't need much more after that at all. But we still had to have lunch in our journey. It was still another 4-hour drive. All right, last stop before we get to Sydney. We're in Goulburn, just for a top up really. The car was suggesting 15 minutes here. We've stayed here for about 20, 25, just to get me a bit of weekend gas as well. Gas, juice, you know, power. This thing's running at 80 kilowatt hour going into the car. It's capable of 350, it says on the app. I've never seen it do more than 150, so I've got a lot to learn there. But the bottom line is it's doing less because the battery is closer to full, so it starts to slow down the trickle into the car so that it doesn't overcharge. But the number one thing for me is it only wanted us to charge for 15 minutes. We don't need to be here for 40. We don't need to sit and wait those full charges. You're just topping up along the way, depending on how you want to drive. It's been a very easy process and just a few more hours to go. Okay. So in those drives, and this is my point, now that we have ultra fast, ultra rapid charging on the highways, you don't have range anxiety because you don't need to spend, people say how long does it take to charge? Probably 40 minutes to get 80%, maybe a bit more to get to 100 if you really needed that, but you never need to do that. You just need to get it to and past your next point. And I think what I would argue is we need more charging, obviously, we need more destinations. You know, yes, Pheasant's Nest on the highway, there's a lot of places you could put more charging, so you're less reliant on those big hubs. But I was blown away by its ability to just relieve me of that concern. The Porsche system in Europe is able to do the whole route planning with charging. It's not in Australia yet because the ChargeFox network was not and is not complete. This ultra rapid network they want to have in phase 1. When that's done, Porsche will roll out a software update. So when you choose Sydney to Melbourne or vice versa, it will do the route planning for you with the stops. That's coming. That'll be amazing. Do you need a 600 kilometer range in a car? No, you don't. Because if you're driving 10 hours and not planning 5 stops for your own well-being, you're mad. And in those 5 stops, all of which only need to be probably 15 minutes, you get enough juice to keep you going. And I've gotten to Sydney with more than half a battery level. I just keep saying tank, who cares? Way more, right? I've got 229 kilometers range and I'm only 20 k's from home because I didn't plan my charging based on where I'm going. I planned my charging based on how many more bites of a meat pie I had to have. You know, the experience has taught me that we've come a long way in Australia in a very short time with the electric vehicle network, and ChargeFox are to be congratulated for that, with the support essentially of the big car companies who are bundling ChargeFox with the car. It's very possible to drive an electric car that's not a 600k range car long distance, as long as you've got the support of that ultra rapid charging network. And even with the smaller, less powerful charging networks, you can absolutely get around. Will this trickle charging frustrate me over the next few days at home? Maybe. Am I going to be driving more than 100 kilometers in any given day? No. So it's a very different experience, and I don't think a Porsche fan is going to be at all disappointed with the vehicle they pick up, because this thing is beautiful and I would have no regrets in buying one if I won the lottery. Sadly, that's not on the cards, but if you've got your name down for a Porsche Taycan, enjoy it. It's going to be an absolute stunner. For me, there's no question. This is the best example of an electric vehicle I've driven, and I've driven lots of them. And I don't say that because I'm in it. I say that because I think it's well thought out, and I think that it's going to be a hit in its own category.